reactions are pouring in after President Biden's shocking move to pardon his son Hunter. President Biden hunkering down after pardoning Hunter over the weekend, sparing him from a possible prison sentence and putting an end to a years-long legal saga. Back in June, Hunter was convicted of illegally buying and possessing a gun as a drug user, and he then pled guilty in September to 9 tax charges. Joining me now, I have NewsNation political contributor Sean Spicer. Sean, always a pleasure. You posted something on X that caught my eye yesterday, so I wanted to start off with that. You tweeted this: why now? Why not on January 20th with a bunch of others on the way out? There's more. What did you mean by there's more, Sean?
Well, there's 2 sentencing dates coming up, and you can question whether or not those are important. The president could have commuted the sentence right away if, in fact, they hadn't appealed the sentence. The pardon, an 11-year pardon for crimes known and unknown, raises a lot of questions from somebody who claimed that no one was above the law. What's really going on here? What does President Biden know that his son has done? Whether it's Burmisma, not filing proper papers with the Department of Justice, influence peddling. I mean, there's something really suspicious about the timing here and the blanket nature of an 11-year pardon for crimes committed, known and unknown.
By there's more, did you also mean, do you think there's more high-profile pardons that are on the horizon here in the next month?
Yeah, look, if you look at the nexus between what Hunter Biden did and Joe's brother, Jim, there's no question that, at least in my mind, Jim Biden, his brother, will be pardoned. I wouldn't put it past Joe Biden himself to pardon himself and other family members on the way out, because, like I said, there's just something, there's so much there that I think that once the Trump administration takes over and is able to go through a lot more of the records, that they're afraid of what might come out. So I can see a lot of additional pardons coming out for Biden family members.
You know, a lot of people, too, saying this was the wrong move, right? This stains his legacy, his presidency. Do you think he really cares? I mean, he was ousted by his own party. He's not going to run for anything again. Do you think he took that into consideration at all?
You've got to. I mean, I don't think there's a politician that doesn't have a massive ego, whether you're running for school board or president. Most people in elected office really think of themselves and their legacy. So I think it mattered to him, but I think what mattered more was whether or not he and other family members were going to jail. But let's look at the nut of this. I think right now there's a lot of debate about whether or not he lied, which is clearly the case, right? I mean, for months he talked about democracy being under attack and the rule of law and the institutions of the judiciary and the jury's role and all this, right? So we know that he could have equivocated, just so we're clear, and said, I'm going to let the process play out. We'll see how it goes. He didn't do that. Up until 2 weeks ago, he was adamant. But the other thing, Markie, is important to understand is the following. Outside of abortion, the 2 biggest issues for Democrats are gun control and the rich paying their fair share. Those were the 2 violations that Hunter Biden was convicted by a court of, right? He lied on a gun form to possess a firearm, something that Democrats claim we need more of. And then secondly, he didn't pay his taxes, millions of dollars. No Democrat has actually spoken out yet about the underlying nature of those. None. They've been absolutely silent. So the next time a Democrat comes out and talks about stricter background checks, more gun restrictions, more of the rich paying their fair share, I think every Republican should point to this case and said, you stood silent while the president's son committed violations of both of those principles that you hold near and dear. So you really don't mean them, do you? I mean, this was such hypocrisy for the Democratic Party and the media to sit back and silently watch them flip-flop, not just on the pardon issue itself, which is what the focus is, but on these 2 massive issues that are near and dear to liberals.
And I got to ask you before I let you go, what do you think Karine Jean-Pierre is thinking? I mean, you've stood at that White House press secretary podium. I mean, did she, I mean, obviously you defend your president. Did she know, you know, secretly, or how does that work? What's she thinking this morning after she repeatedly said over and over again he wasn't going to do this?
You know, Mark, you're asking a great question because you're right. It is near and dear to me. And I think that when I was press secretary, the press was relentless in attacking me and saying, you know, if President Trump changed his mind, they say I lied at the time, which is clearly not true. I feel for Corinne about this much right now because she was adamant that the president wasn't going to change his mind and he had spoken the truth. This is the job of a press secretary, though, to speak the policies and pronunciations of the principle that they represent at the time with the best and most accurate information they have.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. Also, don't forget to click that red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.